Welcome, I'm John, and today I'm going to tell you an exciting story. The cleaning lady was accused of hurting the baby, but the security camera said otherwise. The glass mansion on Ridgeview Hill caught the morning light like a diamond, refracting it into 1,000 perfect pieces across the Connecticut countryside. From the outside, it looked like a dream. All clean lines and floor-to-ceiling windows, the kind of house featured in architecture magazines with titles like Living in Luxury or The American Dream Realized. Inside, Olivia Harrington stood at one of those windows, staring at her reflection superimposed against the manicured lawn below, and felt absolutely nothing. She should have been happy. That's what everyone kept telling her. You're so blessed. You have everything. Look at this beautiful baby. Noah was 6 weeks old, sleeping in his designer crib in the nursery down the hall, a room that had cost more to decorate than most people earned in a year. Olivia had spent months planning every detail. The hand-painted woodland mural, the organic cotton sheets, the imported mobile that played Brahms' lullaby. She'd imagined herself rocking him to sleep in that room, humming softly, feeling that mythical mother-child bond everyone talked about. Instead, she felt like a stranger in her own home, a fraud, an imposter wearing someone else's skin. The coffee in her hand had gone cold an hour ago, but she hadn't noticed. Time moved differently now, stretching and contracting without pattern or reason. Sometimes she'd look up and realize she'd been standing in the same spot for 20 minutes, staring at nothing. Other times, entire days vanished like smoke. Mrs. Harrington? The voice was soft, tentative, accented. I'd take Noah for a walk now, yes? Olivia turned to find Rosa Martinez standing in the doorway, her worn sneakers a stark contrast against the Italian marble floors. The nanny had been with them for 3 weeks, hired through an agency after Olivia's mother had finally stopped pretending everything was fine and made the call herself. Rosa was 36, but looked older, her hands rough from years of work Olivia couldn't begin to imagine. She moved through the house like a ghost, quiet and unobtrusive, speaking only when necessary. Yes, fine. Olivia's voice came out flat, distant. She didn't turn around. Rosa hesitated in the doorway, shifting her weight from foot to foot. In her pocket, she touched the folded photograph she always carried, her daughter Maria, frozen at 4 years old, smiling gap-toothed at a camera that no longer existed. The paper was soft as cloth now, nearly torn along the creases. Sometimes Rosa wondered if she was forgetting Maria's face, or if the photo was fading. Both possibilities terrified her equally. Mrs. Harrington, Rosa tried again, her English halting and careful. You want to come? Fresh air is good. Very good. No. The word came out sharper than Olivia intended. She closed her eyes, pressed her fingers against the cool glass. I have things to do. But she didn't. Her days stretched empty and endless. Her husband, Marcus, left before dawn for his law firm downtown and rarely returned before Noah was asleep. Her friends had stopped calling after she'd declined one too many lunch invitations. Even her mother kept her distance now, hurt by Olivia's coldness, exhausted by trying to help someone who refused to admit she was drowning. Rosa nodded slowly, understanding in her eyes that Olivia couldn't bear to see. Okay, I bring him back before lunch. She disappeared down the hallway, and moments later, Olivia heard the soft sounds of Rosa talking to Noah in Spanish, words Olivia didn't understand but recognized as gentle, loving, the kind of voice Olivia couldn't seem to find in herself. When the front door closed, the house fell into its familiar silence. Olivia stood at the window for a long time, watching Rosa push the expensive stroller down the driveway, her second-hand jacket flapping in the October wind. She thought about the agency's words when they'd sent Rosa's file. Limited English, references from previous families excellent, hardworking, trustworthy. What they hadn't mentioned was that Rosa had lost everything and rebuilt herself from the ashes, that she'd crossed a border and braved 1,000 dangers for a chance at survival, that she knew what it meant to love so deeply it could break you. Olivia didn't know any of that yet. She only knew that Rosa made her uncomfortable, not because of anything Rosa did, but because her presence was a constant reminder of Olivia's own inadequacy. What kind of mother needed someone else to love her baby? The question sat heavy in her chest as she finally turned away from the window, leaving her cold coffee on the marble counter and climbed the stairs back to her bedroom, the only place in this perfect house where she could pretend to disappear. Rosa learned to read Olivia's silences the way sailors read storms, by watching for the small signs that preceded something larger, the way Mrs. Harrington's shoulders tensed when Noah cried, how she'd leave rooms the moment Rosa entered them. The untouched breakfast plates Rosa found hidden in the study, food gone cold and concealed like evidence of some private crime. It had been like this in other houses too, though never quite this severe. Rosa had worked for wealthy families before, had learned the particular loneliness that could exist inside mansions with heated pools and wine cellars. But Olivia's pain was different, sharper, more dangerous. It reminded Rosa of how she'd felt in those first months after Maria died, when breathing itself felt like an act of rebellion against a universe that had taken everything. The difference was that Rosa had been forced to survive. No one was coming to save her. No husband with a six-figure salary, no cleaning service, no organic meal delivery. She'd had to choose, drown or swim. Olivia, Rosa thought, was still trying to decide. "You good boy," Rosa whispered to Noah as she changed his diaper on the nursery table. "So good. You no worry, okay? Rosa here." Noah gazed up at her with those impossibly blue eyes, his father's eyes, and made a soft cooing sound. At 6 weeks, he was beginning to focus better, to track movement and respond to voices. Rosa's voice, specifically. She'd noticed how he calmed when she sang to him, how his tiny fist would curl around her finger with surprising strength. It broke her heart a little more each day. She lifted him carefully, supporting his head the way it's said to do in all those parenting books she couldn't read, but had learned through years of experience. As she carried him toward the window to show him the birds in the maple tree, she caught sight of herself in the nursery mirror. 36 years old, gray already threading through her dark hair, hands marked by decades of other people's dishes, other people's floors, other people's children. She'd sent $240 home last week, almost everything she'd earned, to pay for her mother's heart medication. The money she kept for herself went toward the English classes at the community center on Tuesday nights and the bus fare to get there. "You could have been a teacher," her mother used to say back in San Salvador, before the gangs came, before everything fell apart. "You're so good with children." Well, here she was, teaching Noah how to smile, how to feel safe, how to be loved, even if his own mother couldn't do it yet. The sound of breaking glass shattered the morning quiet. Rosa's heart jumped. She pulled Noah closer to her chest, protective instinct immediate and fierce. The sound had come from downstairs, the kitchen maybe, or the living room. She waited, listening, but heard nothing else. No footsteps, no voice calling out that everything was okay. Carefully, Rosa placed Noah in his crib and activated the mobile above him. "You stay here, mi amor." Rosa, come back quick. She found Olivia in the kitchen, standing motionless amid a constellation of broken coffee mug shards. The pieces glittered across the marble like stars, brown liquid spreading in a slow pool around Olivia's bare feet. She hadn't moved to clean it up, hadn't even stepped away. She just stood there, staring down at the mess, her expression blank. "Mrs. Harrington." Rosa moved quickly, grabbing paper towels and kneeling to start cleaning. "Please, you move, is sharp. You cut yourself." Olivia didn't respond, didn't even seem to register Rosa's presence. "Mrs. Harrington?" Rosa tried again, looking up from the floor. "Please." Finally, Olivia's eyes focused. She looked at Rosa as if seeing her for the first time, and something flickered across her face. Was it shame? Fear? Rosa couldn't tell. "I dropped it," Olivia said quietly. "I was just standing here and it slipped. I didn't mean to." "Is okay. Accident happened." Rosa continued cleaning, working around Olivia's feet. "You sit down now. I finish." But Olivia didn't sit. She stood frozen, watching Rosa work, and then, so quietly Rosa almost missed it, she whispered, "I can't do this." Rosa paused, a handful of glass-studded paper towels in her palm. "Do what, Mrs. Harrington?" "Any of it." Olivia's voice cracked. "I can't. I don't know how to be what he needs, what everyone expects. I look at him and I feel nothing. Do you understand? Nothing. What kind of monster does that make me?" The words hung in the air between them. The first honest thing Olivia had said since Rosa arrived. Rosa stayed kneeling on the floor, choosing her words carefully. Her English wasn't good enough for this conversation, but she had to try. "You know, monster," Rosa said firmly. "You sick. Here." She touched her own chest, over her heart. "Is sickness. Like body sick. You need help, Mrs. Harrington. You need doctor." Olivia's laugh was bitter, broken. "I'm fine. Everyone thinks I should be fine. Perfect house, perfect baby, perfect life." She looked around the gleaming kitchen with something close to hatred. "I'm supposed to be grateful. I'm supposed to be happy. No, Rosa said. You're supposed to be honest. Before Olivia could respond, Noah's cry pierced through the house, sharp, insistent, demanding. Olivia flinched as if struck. Without a word, she turned and walked away, leaving Rosa alone with the broken mug and the spreading stain. Rosa listened to Olivia's footsteps on the stairs, heading up instead of toward the nursery, running away instead of toward. She finished cleaning in silence, then went to comfort the crying baby, the one person in this house who couldn't pretend everything was fine. Marcus Harrington arrived home at 11:30 on a Thursday night, his tie loosened and his briefcase heavy with depositions he'd never read. The house was dark except for a dim light in the nursery, Rosa's nightlight, he assumed. She'd taken to sleeping in the room adjacent to Noah's, some makeshift arrangement Olivia had approved without consulting him. He found his wife in their bedroom, sitting cross-legged on the bed with her laptop open, scrolling through something he couldn't see. She didn't look up when he entered. "Hey," he said, setting his briefcase down. "How was your day?" "Fine." The same answer she'd given him for weeks. Marcus loosened his collar and studied her, really looked at her for the first time in days. When had she stopped wearing makeup? When had her hair started hanging limp around her face like that? Even her posture had changed. She used to sit like a dancer, all grace and poise. Now she hunched forward, making herself small. "Liv, we need to talk about—" "I'm tired, Marcus." She closed the laptop with more force than necessary. Can it wait? Everything could wait with her lately. The conversations they needed to have, the decisions that had to be made, the obvious fact that something was deeply wrong. Marcus had built his career on reading people, on knowing when someone was lying or hiding something. But with his own wife, he found himself choosing blindness. It was easier that way. "Sure," he said, heading toward the bathroom. "Tomorrow then." But they both knew tomorrow would be the same as today. In the nursery, Rosa sat in the rocking chair with Noah asleep against her shoulder. She hummed softly, a song her own mother used to sing, about a little bird that flew too far from home. The melody was sad but beautiful, full of longing and hope in equal measure. She'd heard the Harringtons' muffled conversation through the wall. Not the words exactly, but the tone. Flat, distant, like two strangers sharing an elevator. Rosa had seen marriages crumble before in the homes where she'd worked. Usually it started like this. Small silences that grew into chasms no one knew how to cross. Noah stirred, and Rosa adjusted him gently, breathing in that particular baby smell, milk and powder, and something indefinably sweet. For a moment, she let herself imagine this was Maria, that if she closed her eyes tight enough, she could go back 7 years and hold her daughter one more time, tell her she loved her, promise her everything would be okay, even though it wouldn't. "I sorry I no save you, mihija," she whispered into the darkness. "I sorry I no there." The guilt never left. It sat in her chest like a stone, smooth and heavy from years of carrying it. Maria had gotten sick while Rosa was working at a factory 3 hours away. By the time Rosa made it back to their village, her daughter was already gone, fever taking her in the night while Rosa's mother tried everything she knew. There'd been no money for a doctor, no medicine, just prayers that went unanswered. Rosa had left El Salvador 6 months later, not running toward something, but away from a grave she couldn't bear to visit every day, away from the memories that lived in every corner of their house, away from the life that had ended when Maria's did. But maybe, she thought, placing Noah carefully in his crib, maybe she'd been running toward something after all. Maybe this was where she needed to be. The next morning, Olivia woke to silence, not the peaceful kind, but the unsettling absence of sound that made her skin prickle with anxiety. She grabbed her phone from the nightstand. 9:47 a.m. She'd slept through Noah's morning feeding, had slept through everything. Panic rising, she threw back the covers and rushed down the hall to the nursery. Empty. The crib was made with hospital corners, Noah's favorite blanket missing. "Rosa?" Her voice came out sharp, afraid. "Rosa!" She found them in the sunroom, a space Olivia had decorated but never used. All white furniture and potted plants she'd forgotten to water. Rosa sat on the floor, Noah on a blanket in front of her, doing tummy time. She was showing him a red rattle, moving it slowly back and forth while Noah tracked it with his eyes, his little arms pushing as he tried to lift his head. "Look, look," Rosa said excitedly, not noticing Olivia yet. "You so strong, Noah." "So strong? You like your papa, yes? Big and strong." Noah made a gurgling sound that might have been a laugh. Olivia stood in the doorway, frozen. She should have felt relief. Instead, she felt something darker, a twisted knot of jealousy and shame. Rosa was doing everything right, everything Olivia couldn't do. And worse, Noah responded to her. He was happy with Rosa in a way he never seemed to be with Olivia. "Mrs. Harrington." Rosa looked up, startled. Sorry, I let you sleep. You need rest, and Noah, he wake early, is okay?" "It's fine," Olivia said, but her voice was tight. I didn't know where he was. He here, always here. I always watch." Rosa's smile was genuine, unaware of the storm brewing in Olivia's chest. "You want to try? He doing good today?" Olivia wanted to say yes, wanted to get down on that floor and engage with her son the way a mother should. But the thought of failing, of Noah crying the moment she touched him, of Rosa having to step in and save the moment, was unbearable. "I need coffee first," she said, and turned away before Rosa could see her face. She walked to the kitchen and stood at the window, staring out at the manicured lawn. In the reflection, she looked like a ghost, pale, insubstantial, barely there. Her phone buzzed. A text from her neighbor, Jennifer Ashford, 3 houses down. "Your nanny was screaming at the baby. He hasn't stopped crying all morning. Are you even checking your cameras?" Olivia's blood ran cold. She read the message again, then again. Screaming at the baby. Noah crying. The cameras. Her hands shaking, she opened the security app on her phone, her heart pounding so hard she could hear it in her ears. Finally, she thought. Finally, a reason to feel something other than this crushing guilt. Finally, someone else to blame. Olivia stared at Jennifer's text until the words blurred together. Her finger hovered over the security app, but she didn't open it. Not yet. First, she needed to understand what had happened. When had this occurred? This morning, while she'd been sleeping. Yesterday, when she'd been locked in the study avoiding everyone. Another text arrived. "I almost called the police. You need to do something about this. That woman shouldn't be alone with your child." The blood drained from Olivia's face. Police. The word triggered something primal in her. Part fear, part fury, part relief so intense it nauseated her. Because if Rosa was the problem, then Olivia wasn't. If Rosa was hurting Noah, then Olivia's inability to connect with him made sense. It wasn't postpartum depression or maternal inadequacy. It was Rosa. The narrative wrote itself in her mind with frightening speed. The quiet nanny who'd seemed too good to be true. The woman who'd inserted herself into their lives, who spent more time with Noah than Olivia did, who made Olivia feel like a stranger in her own home. Of course, something had been wrong. Olivia's instincts had been trying to tell her. She found Rosa in the nursery, folding tiny onesies with careful precision, humming that same sad melody she always hummed. Noah slept peacefully in his crib, his small chest rising and falling in perfect rhythm. "Rosa." Olivia's voice came out harder than she'd intended. "I need to talk to you." Rosa looked up, and something in Olivia's expression made her hands still. "Yes, Mrs. Harrington." "My neighbor heard Noah crying," she said. Olivia paused, watching Rosa's face for guilt, for fear, for anything that would confirm what she wanted to believe. "She said you were screaming at him." The confusion on Rosa's face looked genuine, but Olivia had learned in her years as an attorney's wife that everyone could lie. Everyone could pretend. "Screaming?" Rosa repeated, the English word foreign and sharp in her mouth. "No, I no scream. I never— Mrs. Harrington, I no understand. This morning or yesterday. When were you alone with him?" Olivia's voice rose despite herself. "When did this happen?" Rosa set down the onesie, her movements slow and careful, like someone approaching a frightened animal. "Mrs. Harrington, I think there is— how you say— mistake. I no scream at baby. Never. I love Noah like—" She stopped herself, seeming to realize that finishing that sentence would only make things worse. "Like your own. Like the child you lost." Olivia's mind filled in the blanks, and the jealousy that had been simmering beneath her guilt suddenly boiled over. "You love him?" The words tasted bitter. "You've been here 3 weeks, Rosa. 3 weeks. And now my neighbor is telling me my son was screaming while you what? Lost your temper? Got frustrated? Decided he wasn't worth your patience?" "No." Rosa's eyes filled with tears. "No, Mrs. Harrington, please. I never hurt Noah. Never. He my—" She pressed her hand to her chest, searching for words her English couldn't provide. "He my responsibility. I protect him. Always." Then why was he crying? Why was my neighbor concerned enough to text me? To threaten calling the police? Olivia's hands were shaking now, months of suppressed emotion pouring out in a flood she couldn't control. Do you understand what this means? What could happen if she actually calls? If there's an investigation? Rosa had gone very still. In her silence, Olivia could see understanding dawn, not of what she'd done wrong, because she hadn't done anything wrong, but of what was happening. Rosa had been here before. Maybe not this exact scenario, but this moment of accusation, of being deemed disposable, of watching everything she'd worked for slip away because of someone else's word against hers. The cameras, Rosa said quietly. You have cameras, yes? In nursery, in hallway. You watch. You see I do nothing wrong. Of course, the cameras. Olivia had insisted on them when Noah was born. Top-of-the-line security system, with cameras in every room except the bedrooms and bathrooms. Marcus had questioned the expense, but Olivia had been adamant. She'd wanted to feel safe, in control, prepared. Now those cameras would tell her the truth. Fine, Olivia said. I'll watch the footage. But Rosa, if I see anything at all, that confirms what my neighbor said. She didn't finish the threat. She didn't need to. Rosa understood. You watch, Rosa repeated, her voice stronger now. You see truth. Olivia turned and walked to the study, her heart pounding. Behind her, she heard Rosa moving around the nursery, and underneath that, Noah's soft breathing. The sounds of a house that should have been peaceful, but instead felt like it was holding its breath. She sat down at the desk and opened her laptop. The security system interface loaded slowly, each second an eternity. When it finally appeared, she stared at the array of camera feeds, the recordings organized by date and time. Her finger hovered over the mouse. Part of her didn't want to look, because what if Jennifer was right? What if Rosa had lost control? What if Olivia's instinct to trust her had been wrong? But another part, the part that had been drowning for weeks, desperately needed someone else to be at fault. She clicked on the nursery camera feed from yesterday afternoon. The screen filled with grainy footage, and Olivia leaned forward watching for the truth that would either destroy Rosa or destroy herself. The timestamp read 2:47 p.m., October 18th, yesterday. Olivia adjusted the playback speed to normal and watched as the empty nursery filled with afternoon light. For a moment, nothing happened. Then Rosa entered the frame, carrying Noah, who was clearly fussing. His little face was red, his mouth open in what Olivia recognized even without sound as that pre-cry wail, the one that said he'd been building up to this for a while. Olivia turned up the volume. Noah's cries filled her study, and beneath them, Rosa's voice, soft, pleading, gentle. Shh, mi amor. Shh. Is okay. Rosa here. I hear. Rosa sat down in the rocking chair and adjusted Noah against her shoulder, rubbing his back in slow circles. She was singing something, that same melody Olivia had heard through walls, the one that sounded like heartbreak set to music, but there was no screaming, no harshness, nothing but patience and love. Noah continued crying. Olivia watched Rosa try different positions, cradling him, holding him upright, laying him on her lap for gas relief. Nothing worked. The baby's cries intensified, his whole body rigid with distress. Rosa checked his diaper, felt his forehead for fever, examined him with the careful thoroughness of someone who'd done this 1,000 times before. Please, baby, please tell Rosa what you need. The timestamp moved forward. 3:15 p.m. Noah was still crying. Rosa looked exhausted, worry etched deep in the lines around her eyes. She stood and began walking the length of the nursery, bouncing gently, never stopping her stream of Spanish words Olivia couldn't understand but recognized as soothing, comforting. Then Rosa did something that made Olivia's chest tighten. She left the nursery with Noah and walked down the hallway, toward Olivia's bedroom. The camera there showed Rosa stopping outside the closed door. She stood there for a long moment, Noah wailing in her arms, and then she knocked. Mrs. Harrington? Rosa's voice was barely audible over the baby's cries. Mrs. Harrington, please. Noah crying very much. I think maybe he need you. Maybe he need Mama. Silence from inside the room. Rosa knocked again, harder this time. Please, Mrs. Harrington. I know what do. He no stop. Please. Nothing. Olivia watched herself fail her son through the unblinking eye of the security camera. She remembered yesterday afternoon. She'd been in bed, curtains drawn, scrolling mindlessly through her phone with headphones on. She'd heard something, some distant sound, but had convinced herself it was nothing, Or maybe she'd known it was Noah crying and had chosen to ignore it, had chosen to let someone else handle it, had chosen to disappear. On screen, Rosa waited outside the door for another 30 seconds. Then she gave up. She carried Noah back to the nursery and tried everything again, feeding him from the bottle Olivia had pumped that morning, changing him again even though his diaper was clean, checking the temperature, adjusting his clothes. Nothing worked. 4:02 p.m. An hour and 15 minutes of continuous crying. Rosa's face showed pure desperation now. She was on the floor of the nursery, Noah on a blanket in front of her, and she was crying too. Silent tears streaming down her face as she tried once more to comfort him. "I sorry, bebe. I sorry I no help you. I sorry your mama no come. She's sick, you understand? She love you, but she's sick, and Rosa's voice broke. "I try so hard. I miss my Maria. I miss her so much. But I here now. I here for you. I no leave you. Never." She gathered Noah up and held him against her chest, swaying back and forth, both of them crying now. And gradually, so gradually Olivia almost missed it, Noah's cries began to soften. His rigid body relaxed. His breathing slowed. By 4:30 p.m., he was asleep. Rosa didn't put him down immediately. She kept holding him, kept swaying, tears still wet on her cheeks. She kissed his forehead over and over, whispering words Olivia couldn't hear but didn't need to. Olivia stopped the playback. Her hands were shaking so badly she could barely control the mouse. She felt like she was going to be sick. There had been no screaming, no abuse, no moment of cruelty or impatience. Just Rosa, exhausted, heartbroken Rosa, doing everything in her power to comfort a baby, while his mother hid behind a locked door with headphones on. Olivia opened another file. October 16th. The same scene, different day. Rosa caring for Noah while Olivia disappeared. October 14th. October 12th. Every recording told the same story. Rosa loving her son, Rosa being the mother Olivia couldn't be. The shame that crashed over Olivia was unlike anything she'd ever felt. It was physical, visceral, a wave of nausea and self-loathing so intense she had to grip the edge of the desk to stay upright. She'd been looking for evidence of Rosa's guilt. What she'd found instead was a documentary of her own failure. And worse, so much worse, she'd been ready to destroy Rosa based on nothing but a neighbor's text and her own desperate need for a scapegoat. She'd wanted Rosa to be the villain because it was easier than admitting the truth. The villain had been Olivia all along. She thought about Rosa's face when she'd accused her, the confusion, the hurt, the quiet dignity in the way Rosa had suggested looking at the cameras, knowing full well what they would show. Rosa had been confident in her innocence because she had nothing to hide. She'd been protecting Noah from the beginning, not from strangers or dangers outside the house, but from Olivia herself. Olivia's phone buzzed. Another text from Jennifer. "Well, did you talk to her? Are you going to fire her?" Fire her. Olivia had been planning to do exactly that, had been ready to throw Rosa out without a second thought, without severance, without anything. Just send her away so Olivia wouldn't have to face her own reflection anymore. She looked at the frozen image on her screen. Rosa holding Noah, both of them safe, both of them loved. Then she looked at her own reflection in the darkened window, a pale ghost of a woman who'd been so lost in her own darkness that she couldn't see the light someone else was fighting to keep burning. For the first time since Noah was born, Olivia let herself feel the full weight of what she'd become, and it broke her. She put her head down on the desk and sobbed, harsh, ugly, necessary tears that had been building for months. She cried for Rosa, who deserved so much better. She cried for Noah, who needed a mother who could show up, and she cried for herself, for the woman she'd thought she'd be, and the broken thing she'd become instead. The truth was uglier than any lie she could have told herself, and somehow that made it the first honest thing she'd felt in weeks. Olivia didn't know how long she sat at that desk. Time had that strange quality again, elastic and unreliable. When she finally lifted her head, the light outside had changed. Golden hour, the sun casting long shadows across the perfectly manicured lawn. She wiped her face with the back of her hand and stood on unsteady legs. The house was quiet, too quiet. Had Rosa left? Had she taken Noah and walked out, deciding this family wasn't worth the pain? Panic squeezed Olivia's chest as she moved through the hallway. But when she reached the kitchen, she found them both. Rosa sat at the table with a cup of tea. Noah asleep in the portable bassinet beside her. She was looking at something on her phone, the cracked screen reflecting light across her tired face. Rosa looked up when Olivia entered, and the wariness in her eyes was like a physical blow. This woman who'd done nothing but care for Noah, who'd held him through his worst moments, who'd knocked on Olivia's door begging for help. She was afraid. Afraid of Olivia. Afraid of what came next. Mrs. Harrington. Rosa started to stand, but Olivia held up her hand. Don't. Please. Olivia's voice came out rough, raw from crying. She pulled out a chair across from Rosa and sat down heavily. For a long moment, neither of them spoke. Olivia stared at her hands. Pale, soft, useless hands that had never known real work. Hands that should have been caring for her son, but instead spent their time scrolling through phones and hiding from reality. I watched the footage, Olivia finally said. All of it. Yesterday, the day before, last week. Rosa's hands tightened around her teacup, knuckles going white. She didn't say anything, just waited. There was no screaming, Olivia continued, forcing herself to look at Rosa. No yelling, no abuse. Just you, trying to help him while I... The words stuck in her throat like glass. While I hid from my own child. Mrs. Harrington, let me finish, please. Olivia took a shaky breath. I wanted you to be guilty. Do you understand that? When Jennifer texted me, part of me was relieved. Because if you were the problem, then I wasn't. If you were hurting Noah, then my inability to bond with him made sense. It wasn't my fault. It wasn't this thing inside me that's broken. She watched a tear fall onto the table, surprised to realize she was crying again. She thought she'd emptied herself already, but apparently there was more. There was always more. I was going to fire you, Olivia admitted, without even checking, without giving you a chance to defend yourself. I was ready to destroy your life based on nothing but a text message and my own desperate need for someone else to blame. She paused, the weight of what she was saying settling over them both. I'm sorry, Rosa. I'm so sorry. Rosa sat very still, her dark eyes studying Olivia's face with an intensity that made Olivia want to look away. But she didn't. She owed Rosa this honesty at least, this willingness to be seen in all her ugliness. You sick, Rosa said finally, her English careful and measured. You have sickness here. She touched her chest, over her heart. I see this before. In El Salvador, my cousin have this after her baby. We no have name for it. We no have help. Rosa's voice dropped. She tried to hurt herself. We save her, but is hard. Very hard. Postpartum depression, Olivia whispered. That's what they call it here. Yes, this. Rosa nodded. You need help, Mrs. Harrington. Real help. Not just nanny. You need doctor. You need medicine, maybe. You need to talk to someone who understand. I know. The admission felt like defeat and relief in equal measure. I know I do. But I can't. I don't know how to ask for help. Everyone thinks I should be fine. Perfect house, perfect husband, perfect baby. How do I tell them I'm drowning? That I look at my son and feel nothing but fear and shame? Rosa reached across the table and did something Olivia didn't expect. She took Olivia's hand, her rough, work-worn hand covering Olivia's soft one, and squeezed gently. You tell truth, Rosa said simply. Like you tell me now. You say, I sick. I need help. That all. No shame in this. No shame in being human. Olivia stared at their joined hands, a bridge between two worlds. Two women who had nothing in common except this moment of painful honesty. Rosa had every right to hate her, to quit, to walk away and never look back. Instead, she was offering compassion. Why are you being kind to me? Olivia asked. After what I almost did to you. Rosa was quiet for a moment, her thumb rubbing gentle circles on Olivia's hand. When she spoke, her voice carried the weight of experience Olivia could barely imagine. When my daughter die, I very angry. Angry at God, angry at world, angry at myself most. I think, why I no save her, why I at work, why I no there. She paused, swallowing hard. But anger no bring her back. Anger just make me alone, make me cold. I come to America alone, work alone, live alone. Is easy to be alone when you angry. She looked up, meeting Olivia's eyes directly. But then I meet people like you, people who hurt, who lost, who know how to ask for help. And I think, maybe I no save Maria, but maybe I help others. Maybe I no let other mothers lose their children, because they too afraid to say they drowning. You're not just a nanny, are you? Olivia said quietly. You're trying to save us. "I trying to help," Rosa corrected. "Saving is something you do yourself. She searched for words. "I just hold you up while you learn to swim." Noah stirred in his bassinet, making soft noises. Both women looked at him, watching his small face scrunch up and relax again as he settled back into sleep. "He loves you," Olivia said. "More than he loves me." "No." Rosa's voice was firm. "He need me right now because you no ready. But he know who his mother is. In here." She touched her chest again. "He know. And when you ready, when you get help, when you learn to swim, he know that too. Children, they wait. They forgive. Is us adults who hold on to the hurt." Olivia wanted to believe her. Wanted to believe there was still time to fix this, to become the mother Noah deserved. But the doubt was so loud, so constant. "I don't know if I can do this," she admitted. "You no do it alone," Rosa said. "You tell your husband, you call doctor, you ask for help. And Rosa here. I hear for Noah, yes, but I hear for you too. You understand?" Olivia nodded, not trusting her voice. For the first time since Noah was born, she didn't feel quite so alone. The shame was still there, would probably always be there, but it had company now. Understanding, compassion, the beginning of something that might eventually look like hope. "Thank you," Olivia whispered, "for not leaving, for not hating me." Rosa squeezed her hand once more before letting go. "We all broken sometimes, Mrs. Harrington. Question is, what we do with broken pieces." Marcus came home early that evening. Early for him, which meant 7 o'clock instead of midnight. He found Olivia in the living room, sitting on the couch with her hands folded in her lap, back straight, waiting. She'd been rehearsing what to say for the past 2 hours, but now that he was here, the words scattered like birds. "Liv?" He set his briefcase down, concern flickering across his face. "What's wrong? Is Noah okay?" "Noah's fine. He's with Rosa." She patted the cushion beside her. "Sit down, please." Marcus sat, but his body was tense, prepared for bad news. In his line of work, conversations that started like this rarely ended well. "What's going on?" Olivia had planned to ease into it, to build up to the admission carefully. Instead, the truth came out raw and unfiltered. "I have postpartum depression. I need help, professional help, and I'm sorry, I'm so sorry, that I've been lying to you about being okay." Marcus stared at her, processing. She watched his face cycle through confusion, then denial, then something that might have been relief. "Postpartum. Liv, are you sure? I mean, isn't that something that happens right after birth? It's been almost 2 months. It can happen any time in the first year." She'd looked it up that afternoon, finally allowing herself to research what she'd been avoiding for weeks. "And I've had symptoms since the beginning. I didn't want to admit it. I thought I could push through, be stronger, be the mother everyone expected me to be." "What symptoms?" His lawyer voice, careful, analytical, gathering evidence. Olivia forced herself to list them, each one a small death. "I can't bond with Noah. When he cries, I feel panic instead of concern. I hide from him, from you, from everything. I've been sleeping too much or not at all. I can't eat. I can't think. And today," her voice cracked. "Today I almost fired Rosa because my neighbor sent a text accusing her of abusing Noah, and I wanted it to be true. I wanted someone else to be the villain so badly that I didn't even check the facts first." Marcus's expression shifted to alarm. "Wait, what? Someone said Rosa was abusing Noah?" "She wasn't. The security footage proved it. But Marcus, I was ready to fire her without even looking, without giving her a chance, because if she was the problem, then I wasn't. Do you understand how sick that is? How broken I am?" He reached for her hand, but she pulled away. She didn't deserve comfort. "Not yet. You're not broken," Marcus said firmly. "You're sick. There's a difference." Rosa said the same thing. Olivia laughed bitterly. "The woman I almost destroyed is the one showing me more compassion than I've shown myself. Rosa knows. Rosa's known for weeks, I think. She tried to tell me. She kept saying I needed help, needed a doctor, but I didn't listen. Olivia's hands twisted in her lap. "I've been so afraid. Afraid of admitting I can't do this. Afraid of being judged. Afraid of losing you and Noah if anyone found out I'm not who I pretended to be." Marcus was quiet for a long moment. When he spoke, his voice was rough with emotion. "Liv, I knew something was wrong. I knew, but I didn't push because it was easier not to. I've been burying myself in work, telling myself you just needed time, that you'd bounce back. But I was scared too, scared of facing something I didn't know how to fix. The admission hung between them, two people who'd built their lives on appearing perfect, on maintaining control, finally acknowledging the facade had crumbled. "I need to see someone," Olivia said. "A therapist, maybe a psychiatrist. I don't know exactly what I need, but I can't keep going like this. And I need you to support that, even if it's messy, even if it takes time. Of course, whatever you need." Marcus moved closer, and this time when he reached for her, she let him take her hand. "I'll help however I can. We'll figure this out together. There's something else." Olivia took a breath. "I want Rosa to stay. Not just as a nanny, but I think she needs to be part of this. She's the only one Noah fully trusts right now. And she's been through things I can't imagine. Lost things I can't comprehend. If anyone understands what it means to keep going when everything feels hopeless, it's her." Marcus nodded slowly. "Okay. But Liv, we need to make sure we're doing this right. Rosa's here on a work visa, right? We should probably look into her legal status, make sure everything's in order. If she's going to be this important to our family, we need to protect her too." It was such a Marcus thing to say. Practical, legal-minded. But beneath it, Olivia heard what he really meant. Let's not take advantage of someone vulnerable. Let's do right by her. "Thank you," Olivia whispered. "For what? For not telling me I'm overreacting. For not saying I should just try harder or be more grateful or any of the things I've been telling myself." Marcus pulled her close and she let herself lean against him, something she hadn't done in months. "You're my wife. I love you. That doesn't change because you're struggling. If anything, it means I need to step up. I've been absent. That ends now." From upstairs, they heard Rosa singing to Noah, that same haunting melody that seemed to carry both sorrow and hope in equal measure. "She lost her daughter," Olivia said quietly, "in El Salvador. She crossed the border alone, left everything behind. And still somehow she has enough love left to give to us. To Noah. To me. Even after what I almost did. Then we make sure she knows she's not just hired help anymore," Marcus said. "She's family, and we protect family. It was a start. Not a solution, not a cure, not a happy ending. Just a start." But as Olivia sat there with her husband's arm around her, listening to Rosa's lullaby drift down the stairs, she felt something she hadn't felt in months. Not hope exactly. Not yet. But maybe the possibility of hope. And right now, that was enough. Dr. Sarah Chen's office was nothing like Olivia expected. No leather couch, no degrees plastered on walls, no sterile clinical feeling. Just a comfortable room with soft lighting, plants on the windowsill, and two chairs facing each other. Equals, not doctor and patient. "Tell me why you're here," Dr. Chen said, her voice gentle but direct. Olivia had prepared a speech, articulate, controlled, the kind of response that would make her sound like she had everything together. Instead, what came out was, "I can't love my baby, and I'm terrified that makes me a monster." Dr. Chen didn't flinch, didn't rush to reassure her, just nodded and said, "Tell me more about that." So Olivia did. She told her about the pregnancy she'd fought so hard for, the expectations she'd built up, the perfect life she'd imagined, and then the reality, the disconnection, the numbness, the shame that ate at her like acid. She talked about Rosa, about the false accusation, about watching security footage of her own failure. "I should be grateful," Olivia said, the words tumbling out faster now. "I have everything. Money, support, a healthy baby. Women would kill for what I have. So why can't I be happy?" "Because depression doesn't care about your bank account," Dr. Chen said simply. "It doesn't care about your privilege or your blessings or how much you think you should be grateful. It's a chemical imbalance in your brain, not a moral failing." The words hit Olivia like a physical blow, not because they were harsh, but because they were kind. Permission to be broken without being bad. "Can it be fixed?" Olivia whispered. "It can be treated. And yes, most women with postpartum depression recover fully with proper care." Dr. Chen leaned forward slightly. "But Olivia, recovery doesn't mean you'll suddenly become the Instagram version of motherhood. It means you'll find your own version, the real one, the one that might be messy and imperfect but is authentic." They talked for the full hour, about medication options, about therapy schedules, about the importance of support systems and self-compassion. When Olivia left, she had a prescription in her purse and another appointment scheduled for next week. It wasn't a cure, but it was a beginning. That evening, Olivia found Rosa in the kitchen preparing dinner, something she'd started doing even though it wasn't part of her job description. The smell of garlic and cilantro filled the air, warm and homey. "Rosa," Olivia said, "can we talk?" Rosa turned off the stove and wiped her hands on her apron, that familiar wariness creeping into her expression. "Yes, Mrs. Harrington. Please call me Olivia. I think we're past formalities." She sat at the kitchen table and gestured for Rosa to join her. "I went to a doctor today, a therapist. She's going to help me with everything." "Is good," Rosa said, relief evident in her voice. "This is very good. Marcus and I have been talking about you, about your situation here." Olivia took a breath. "We want to help you with your legal status, get you proper documentation, maybe even permanent residency if that's what you want. You shouldn't have to live in fear of deportation, not after everything you've done for us." Rosa's hands flew to her mouth. For a moment she just stared at Olivia, eyes shining with tears. You do this for me? We should have done it already. You're not just hired help, Rosa. You're—" Olivia's voice caught. "You're the person who saved my son when I couldn't, who showed me compassion when I deserved none. You're family, and we take care of family." Rosa stood abruptly and moved to the window, her shoulders shaking. When she spoke, her voice was thick with emotion. "I never asked for this. I just want to work, send money home to my mother. I know think—" She turned back to Olivia. "Why you do this? After I just nanny? Because you're not just a nanny. You never were." Olivia stood and moved closer, though she didn't touch Rosa. She'd learned that Rosa needed space to process emotions. "You loved Noah when I couldn't. You held him through the hardest moments. You knocked on my door begging me to be his mother. And when I failed, you stepped up. That's not just a job, Rosa. That's sacrifice. That's love. I love him like he my own," Rosa admitted, the words tumbling out. "I know is wrong. I know he your baby. But when I hold him, when I sing to him, I think of Maria. I think maybe God take my daughter but give me chance to help another mother keep hers." "It's not wrong," Olivia said firmly. "Love isn't wrong. And Noah is lucky to have you. So am I." She paused, gathering courage. "I want to ask you something. Will you teach me? Not just how to take care of Noah, but how to be present with him. I watch you with him, and you make it look so natural, like you know exactly what he needs." Rosa wiped her eyes. "You as mother, you know already. Here." She touched Olivia's chest, over her heart. "You just know can hear it yet because brain too loud, too much worry, too much fear. We quiet the brain, you hear the heart. Will you help me quiet the brain?" "Yes," Rosa said without hesitation. "We do together, you, me, Noah. We family now, yes?" "Yes," Olivia whispered. "Family." They stood together in the kitchen as the sun set outside, casting long shadows across the marble floors. Upstairs, Noah began to cry, that familiar sound that used to send Olivia running in the opposite direction. This time, she didn't run. "Come," Rosa said, taking Olivia's hand. "We go together. You hold him first. I show you. Is okay to be scared. Is okay to not know, but is not okay to hide." They climbed the stairs side by side, two women from different worlds, bound together by a child who needed them both. And for the first time since Noah was born, when Olivia picked him up, she didn't feel only panic. She felt something else too. Small, fragile, uncertain, but there. 3 weeks after Olivia started therapy, Jennifer Ashford showed up at the front door unannounced. She wasn't alone. Behind her stood 2 other women from the neighborhood, Claire Montgomery and Diane Patterson, their expressions a carefully constructed mix of concern and judgment. Olivia opened the door in sweatpants and one of Marcus's old law school t-shirts, her hair pulled back in a messy bun. A month ago she would have been mortified to be seen like this. Now she was just tired. "Jennifer, what's going on? We need to talk." Jennifer's voice had that particular edge that wealthy women used when they wanted to seem caring, but were really just nosy. "About your situation." "My situation?" Olivia felt her stomach tighten, but she didn't step aside to let them in. Some instinct, maybe one of the few good ones she had left, told her this wasn't a friendly visit. "With the nanny," Claire spoke up, her diamond tennis bracelet catching the afternoon light. "Word's gotten around, Olivia. People are concerned." "Concerned about what?" "About whether it's appropriate for that woman to still be in your home," Diane said, her tone suggesting she thought it very much wasn't. "After what happened? After what I heard? After what you heard?" Olivia's voice came out sharper than intended. "What exactly did you hear, Diane?" The 3 women exchanged glances. Jennifer stepped forward, lowering her voice as if that made her words less cruel. "Look, we're not trying to judge, but people are talking. They're saying you've been struggling, that maybe you're not in the right frame of mind to make good decisions about who's caring for your child. The old Olivia, the one from 2 months ago, would have crumbled, would have invited them in, offered coffee, apologized for existing wrong, for being messy, for not meeting their expectations, would have done anything to make them go away, to restore the perfect image they expected. But that Olivia was gone. Or maybe she was still there, but buried under layers of something harder, something forged in the fire of complete breakdown and slow, painful rebuilding. "Come in," Olivia said, her voice steady. "Since you're all so concerned, we should talk properly." She led them to the living room where Rosa was on the floor with Noah, helping him with tummy time. Rosa looked up when they entered, and Olivia watched her read the situation immediately. The women's tight smiles, their expensive clothes, their barely concealed disdain. Rosa had faced this kind of judgment her entire life. Rosa started to stand, to leave, but Olivia held up her hand. "Stay, please. This concerns you too." "Olivia," Jennifer began, clearly uncomfortable with Rosa's presence. "Maybe we should speak privately." "No." Olivia sat down on the couch, forcing them to either stand awkwardly or sit. They sat. "You came here to discuss my nanny. She should be part of the conversation." "We're just worried," Claire said, her voice dripping with false sweetness. "Jennifer told us about the incident, about how the baby was crying for hours. And then we heard you've been seeing someone. A therapist. A psychiatrist, actually," Olivia corrected, "for postpartum depression, which is a medical condition, not a scandal." Diane leaned forward. "Of course not. But Olivia, you have to understand how it looks. You're struggling with your mental health. You're on medication. People are saying you're not bonding with the baby. And then you keep this nanny who is accused of—" "Falsely accused," Olivia interrupted, "by Jennifer, based on absolutely nothing." "I heard crying," Jennifer said defensively. "Hours of it. I was trying to help." "You were trying to gossip." Olivia's voice was cold now, and she watched Jennifer flinch. "You heard a baby crying, and instead of calling me, instead of coming over to actually help, you sent a text designed to make me panic, to make me doubt Rosa. And it worked. I almost destroyed her life because of your text. That's not fair." "Isn't it?" Olivia stood, and the three women seemed to shrink in their seats. "I watched the security footage, Jennifer. All of it. You want to know what I saw? I saw Rosa caring for my son with more patience and love than I was capable of at the time. I saw her trying to get me to help while I hid in my room with headphones on. I saw her crying while holding my baby, exhausted and desperate, but never giving up on him." Rosa's eyes were wide, her hands frozen on Noah's back. "I was drowning," Olivia continued, her voice breaking but not stopping. "And instead of asking for help, I blamed the one person who was actually keeping my son safe. You know what that makes me? Ashamed, grateful, and determined to do better." "You know what it doesn't make me? Wrong for keeping her. But she's—" Diane struggled for words. "She's just a nanny, an immigrant. You don't owe her anything. She's not just anything." Olivia's hands were shaking, but her voice was steel. "She's a woman who lost her daughter, who crossed a border alone, who works harder than any of us have ever had to work, who loved my son when I couldn't. And you're right, I don't owe her anything, which makes what she did even more remarkable. She gave my child love expecting nothing in return." Claire stood up, adjusting her purse. "I think we should go. You're clearly not ready to hear—" "To hear what? That I should be ashamed? I am. Every single day. But not for the reasons you think." Olivia moved to stand beside Rosa, a deliberate choice that wasn't lost on anyone in the room. "I'm ashamed I didn't ask for help sooner. I'm ashamed I let pride and fear nearly destroy my relationship with my son. I'm ashamed I almost fired Rosa because it was easier than facing my own failures." "This is ridiculous," Jennifer snapped. "We came here out of concern. No, you came here to judge, to gossip, to feel superior." Olivia walked to the door and opened it. "And I'm done caring what you think. Rosa is staying. I'm getting treatment. And my son is safe and loved. If that offends your sensibilities, there's the door." The three women stared at her, shocked into silence. Then, one by one, they filed out, their expensive shoes clicking against the marble. At the threshold, Jennifer turned back. "You'll regret this, Olivia. You're making a mistake, and everyone will see it." "Maybe," Olivia said, "but it'll be my mistake to make, not yours." She closed the door and leaned against it, her whole body shaking now that the adrenaline was fading. Behind her, she heard Rosa moving, then felt gentle hands on her shoulders. "You don't have to do that," Rosa said quietly. You no have to fight for me. Olivia turned to face her, tears streaming down her face. Yes, I did. Because you fought for Noah when I couldn't. The least I can do is fight for you. Rosa pulled her into a hug, the first real physical affection they'd shared, and Olivia let herself be held. Not by her mother, not by her husband, but by this woman who'd seen her at her absolute worst and chosen compassion anyway. We okay now? Rosa whispered. We family. Family fight for each other. And Olivia, standing in her messy clothes with tears on her face, finally understood what that meant. 4 months later, on a cold February evening, Olivia stood in the kitchen preparing a cake, not ordering one from the boutique bakery downtown, not having it delivered by some service, actually making it herself, from scratch, flour dusting her shirt and frosting smudged on her wrist. Noah sat in his high chair, now 6 months old, watching her with those bright blue eyes and gumming a teething ring. When she caught his gaze, he smiled, that gummy whole-face smile that babies give, and Olivia felt it, that warmth, that connection, that overwhelming rush of love she'd been told would come automatically but had taken months of therapy, medication, and hard work to finally feel. What you think, pequeño? Rosa came up behind Noah, kissing the top of his head. Your mama making cake is good, yes? It's lopsided, Olivia admitted, studying her creation. And I think I forgot to let it cool enough before frosting, so everything's sliding. Is perfect, Rosa said firmly. You make with love. That what matter. Marcus entered carrying wrapped packages and a bouquet of flowers. Is she here yet? She in shower, Rosa said. She no we do this. They'd planned it carefully. Marcus coming home early, Olivia insisting Rosa take a break while she handled Noah, the three of them conspiring to celebrate something Rosa had mentioned only once, months ago, that no one had acknowledged in years, her birthday. When Rosa emerged from her room, the guest room that was now permanently hers, decorated with photos and plants and things that made it feel like home, she stopped short at the kitchen doorway. The table was set with candles, the lopsided cake taking center stage. Olivia, Marcus, and Noah waited, and Rosa's hand flew to her mouth. ¿Qué es esto? She whispered. Happy birthday, Olivia said softly. We wanted to celebrate you. Rosa's eyes filled with tears. You no have to. We wanted to, Marcus said. Your family, Rosa. This is what families do. They sat down together, 4 people who'd become something neither traditional nor easily defined, but real nonetheless. They ate the lopsided cake and laughed when Noah grabbed a handful of frosting and smeared it in his hair. They gave Rosa her gifts, a new winter coat she'd been eyeing at the discount store, a Spanish-English dictionary, and something else, something that made Rosa's breath catch. Olivia handed her a folder. We finalized it yesterday. Your green card application is approved. You're a permanent resident, Rosa. You're safe now. You can stay as long as you want. You can bring your mother here if you want. You're free. Rosa opened the folder with shaking hands, staring at the official documents as if they might disappear. I don't know what to say. You don't have to say anything, Marcus said gently. But Rosa did have something to say. She stood, walked around the table, and pulled Olivia into a fierce embrace. You saved me, she whispered. You no understand. You saved my life. No, Olivia said, her own voice thick with emotion. You saved mine first. They pulled apart, both crying now, and Olivia handed Rosa one more thing, a framed photograph. Rosa took it, and when she saw what it was, a sob broke from her throat. The image was from the security footage. That moment months ago when Rosa had held Noah through his worst crying spell, both of them exhausted, both of them hurting, but neither of them giving up. Rosa's face in the photo showed pure love despite the tears, and Noah, finally calming in her arms, looked peaceful, safe. You were his mother when I couldn't be, Olivia said, repeating the words from her heart. This is who you are, Rosa. This is what you gave us. Rosa clutched the frame to her chest. I remember this day. I think I fail. I think I no help him. But I no give up. I never give up on him. And you didn't give up on me either, Olivia added. Even when I gave you every reason to leave, you stayed. You showed me what real strength looks like, what real love looks like. Marcus raised his glass. To Rosa, for saving this family in ways we're still discovering. They toasted, and as they did, Rosa looked around the table, at this imperfect, complicated, beautiful family she'd found. Or maybe that had found her. You know what I learned? Rosa said, her English stronger now after months of classes. I learned that love, real love, it know about blood. It know about who give birth or who have papers or who supposed to love who. Love is about who stay when things hard, who hold on when everyone else let go. She looked at Noah, then at Olivia, her eyes shining. I lose my Maria. I think I never love again. I think that part of me die with her. But then I meet this family, and I learn something. Sometimes the ones who love your child the most aren't the ones who gave birth, but the ones who never stopped holding them. The words hung in the air, sacred and true. Olivia reached across the table and took Rosa's hand. And this time, when she squeezed it, there was no shame, no guilt, no hierarchy of who deserved what. Just two women who'd survived their separate hells and found each other on the other side. "Thank you," Olivia whispered, "for seeing me when I couldn't see myself, for loving Noah when I was learning how, for being patient when I didn't deserve patience, for being here. I always here," Rosa promised. "Family don't leave." They sat together as the candles burned low, Noah babbling happily between them, and the glass mansion on Ridgeview Hill, once so cold and perfect and empty, finally felt like a home. Not because everything was fixed. Olivia still had hard days, still took medication, still went to therapy every week and probably would for a long time. But she showed up now, for Noah, for Rosa, for Marcus, for herself. And Rosa, who'd crossed borders and survived losses that would have broken most people, had finally found what she'd been searching for without knowing she was searching. A place where she wasn't just hired help or an immigrant or someone to be pitied. She was family, she was seen, she was home. And in the end, that was what saved them all. Not grand gestures or perfect solutions, but the simple, revolutionary act of truly seeing another person's humanity, of building bridges instead of walls, of choosing love even when, especially when, it was hard. Outside, snow began to fall, blanketing the Connecticut countryside in white. Inside, a baby laughed, and two women who'd saved each other smiled. And somewhere in that moment, healing continued its quiet, persistent work. Not loudly, not perfectly, but real. The end. Did you like this story? Would you have done anything differently? Tell me in the comments. See you next time. Don't forget to like and subscribe now to receive more exciting stories that you won't want to miss. Thank you very much.